your captive. Turn me loose tonight. I'm radioactive. I want to stay with you. I want to play with you, baby. I want to lay with you, and I want you to know. Got to concentrate. Don't be distracted. Turn me on tonight. Come on, radioactive. Don't be distracted. Turn me on tonight. Come on, radioactive. to feel night. Now I'm here and I'm all alone. Do I know how it feels? Tried so hard to make you see, but I couldn't find the words. I'm alone again without you. Alone again without you. Alone again without you. One for me. Without. I tried so hard to make you see, but I couldn't find the words. Now the tears come on. I'm alone again without you. Alone again without you. Alone again without you. Alone again
Don Dockett, everybody!
Don't rock the jukebox. I wanna hear some Jones. 'Cause my heart ain't ready on the Rolling Stone. I don't feel like rocking since my baby's gone. So don't rock the jukebox. Maybe a country song. Before you drop that quarter, keep one thing in mind. You got a heart-broke hillbilly standing here in line. I've been down a long day ever since she left. Before you punch that number, could I make one request? Don't rock the jukebox. I wanna hear some Jones. My heart ain't ready on the Rolling Stone. I don't feel like rocking since my baby's gone. So don't rock the jukebox, maybe a country song.
Nights in white satin, never reaching the end. Letters I've written, never meaning to send. Beauty I'd always missed with these eyes before. Just what the truth is, I can't say anymore, 'cause I love you. Yes, I love you. Oh, gazing at people, some hand in hand, just what I'm going through, they can understand. Some try to tell me thoughts they cannot defend, just what you want to be, you will be in the end. And I love you. Yes, I love you. Oh, I love you. to. It's your thing. Do what you wanna do now. I can't tell you who to sock it to.
Still believe. Oh,
Thank you. Woo! It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. But when I see you hanging about with anyone, it's not unusual to see me cry. I wanna die. It's not unusual to go out at any time. When I see you out and about, it's such a crime. If you should ever wanna be loved by anyone, it's not unusual, it happens every day. No matter what you say, you find it happens all the time. Love will never do what you want it to. I can't just really love, be mine. Yeah. It's not unusual to be mad with anyone. It's not unusual to be sad with anyone. And if I ever find that you've changed at any time, it's not unusual to find that I'm in love with you. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, come on, baby. Tell me one more time. Oh, yeah.
Well, the time has come. I hope that you're ready. Time to get moving. Everybody rock steady. It's time. Now it's time. Get on the ball. Get on the right track. No time to lose. There's no looking back. It's time. I said it's time. Hey, now, what you gonna do if that passes you by? You get left alone and wonder why. The time is now, no hesitating. You got the green light, tell me why are you waiting? It's time. I said it's time. Shake it up. Let it be free. He's got the idea right there. Well, the clock is ticking, no time for talking. If you can't hit your ride, you better start walking. It's time. I said it's time. Oh, get on the ball, get on the right track. No time to lose, no looking back. It's time. Ooh, I said it's time. 2, 3, 4. Lord, Lord, what you gonna do if that passes you by? You get left alone, you wonder why. Well, the time is now, no hesitating. You got the green light. Ooh, why are you waiting? It's time. I said it's time. Talk to me, boys. I like it, I like it. Hey, hey, hey. Lord, Lord, what you gonna do if that passes you by? You get left alone, you wonder why. I said the clock is ticking, there's no time for talking. If you can't hit your ride, start walking this time. He knows it's time. Guitar man.
Again for the Michael J. Steele for Senate Show, coming at you live from downtown Fargo, North Dakota. Welcome everybody to the studio audience. Hope you're having a nice time. Glad you're all here and you could make it. It's 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, Friday, the 27th, 2022. And we might as well knock out the weather and do some news. And then we can open up in their phone lines. Man, we got a lot going on in the news today. Tons of stuff happening. Weather right now, the current conditions are 76 degrees. East wind at 8 miles per hour here in North Dakota, here in Fargo. Humidity's only 25%. Visibility 10 miles and sunny today. We got a heat wave. 76 degrees right now. Barometric pressure 29.71 inches and steady. Dew point 38 degrees. 7-day forecast. Gonna be a little cloudy, a little rain for the rest of the week, but high is 79, low in the 40s. So that's our quickie weather report there. Let's get on to the news here. Wisconsin governor signs infant formula anti-price gouging order not allowed in Minnesota. Madison, Wisconsin, Tony Evers doing a good job, I would say. Wisconsin has signed an emergency order aimed at eliminating price gouging on infant formula. But Minnesota Governor Tim Walz doesn't have that authority, he said. Walz would have to declare a general peacetime state of emergency as he did at the start of the COVID pandemic, but doing that in response to a baby formula shortage could have serious political as well as legal repercussions. Late last week, in the closing days of the legislative session, Senate Democrats tried to fast-track a bill to prohibit price gouging in Minnesota, but Republicans wouldn't allow it. If the formula shortage became severe enough, the governor would have the option to call a special legislative session. So the nice, good governor in Wisconsin said, let's do this. And Minnesota, the bad governor, just got lazy and didn't want to do it. So, but I like that. Screw these price gouging bastards. Just like we're getting it on gas right now. There's plenty of oil, plenty of gas. Saudis made $40 billion first quarter. AmeriCorps, their oil company, and then Exxon made like $58 billion profit in the first quarter. So who the hell are they fooling? Nobody. And we're just Americans taking it in the shorts like the sheeple that we are. U.S. prosecutors get guilty verdict in Capitol riot case, extending their win streak. Justice Department today extended its win streak of victories in jury trials against rioters who stormed the Capitol securing a guilty verdict in its prosecution of a New Jersey man facing a felony charge. After less than a day of deliberation, a federal jury in the District of Columbia found Timothy Hale Cuccinelli guilty of all 5 counts he faced, including obstruction of an official proceeding, a felony carrying statutory maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. U.S. District Judge Trevor McFadden will sentence Hale Cuccinelli on September 16th. Figures they got to pick on the Italian guy. Threw the book at this guy and you charged him with all 5 felony counts. Hale Cuccinelli is a member of the U.S. Army Reserves who works as a Navy contractor with a secret security clearance and access to several weapons. An informant told investigators that Hale Cuccinelli was a avowed white supremacist and Nazi sympathizer who posts online videos exposing extreme political opinions. Like the Justice Department alleged in court filings, Hale Cuccinelli was the 5th Capitol riot defendant to take his case to a jury trial. Justice Department has secured convictions in all 5 cases. Prosecutors have been less successful in the 2 cases and culminate in non-jury trials. Both of those trials were overseen by McFadden, who partially acquitted one defendant while fully acquitting another. Video footage from the riot showed Hale Cuccinelli yelling at police officers outside the Capitol complex and entering the building after it was breached. Hale Cuccinelli's defense lawyer argued that his client did not realize Congress was counting electoral votes on January 6, 2021, and therefore lacked any criminal intent whatsoever. Thousands of people stormed the Capitol that day to try to keep Congress from certifying Joe Biden. So more than 800 face criminal charges. Yeah, they're messing with the Italian guy, Cuccinelli. This guy, I don't know why they're jacking with him, but they always got to mess with the Italians. Fed's carrying $330 billion in unrealized losses on its assets, according to Q1 financial statement. The U.S. Federal Reserve is carrying $330 billion in losses on its holdings of the U.S. Treasury and mortgage-backed securities at the end of March, according to financial statements showing the impact of rising interest rates on the market value on the Fed's balance sheet. A central bank's holding of nearly $9 trillion in assets still allows the Fed to remit $32.2 billion to the U.S. Treasury in the first quarter of 2022. But the losses on the Fed's investments, an $8.5 trillion portfolio that surged higher through asset purchases designed to keep financial markets stable through the pandemic, pose a potential tough political problem for the central bank. Bill Nelson, chief economist at the Bank Policy Institute, said that adjusting for the appreciation in its assets the Fed had seen through the end of last year, the unrealized losses were even larger than $458 billion, criticized for continuing to buy assets as the economy was well on the way to healing from the pandemic. It is now trying to reverse course and shrink its holdings, particularly of mortgage-backed securities. So, Fed is carrying right now $330 billion in unrealized losses, so we don't know where them are. We don't know where they're at. Trump to call for security overhaul in U.S. schools, change in approach to mental health issues. Well, Trump's doing something pretty good right now, I think. Former President Trump said today that he'll call for a drastic change to the United States approach to mental health issues and a security overhaul at schools following this week's shooting at a Texas school by gunmen who killed 19 children and 2 teachers. We need to drastically change our approach to mental health. There are always so many warnings. Almost all these disfigured minds share the same profile. Trump was expected to say at the annual meeting of the biggest U.S. gun lobby, the National Rifle Association in Houston, according to excerpts from his speech heard by Reuters. Yeah, so that's good. He's speaking out, saying some good stuff there. U.S. panel asked gun makers for marketing and other data after shootings. The U.S. House of Representatives Oversight Panel called 5 gun makers to hand over details on their manufacturing, marketing, and sales of firearms used in mass shootings. The committee's chairwoman said today, following recent attacks, House Oversight Committee Chairwoman Carolyn Maloney requested the data in letters sent Thursday to Daniel Defense, Bushmaster, Sig Sauer, Smith & Wesson Brands, Inc., Stern, Ruger and Company. She said, I'm deeply concerned that gun manufacturers continue to profit from the sale of weapons of war. Congressman Maloney wrote, citing the AR-15 semi-automatic rifles used this week shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, and at grocery store in Buffalo, New York. Representatives for the gun manufacturers could not be reached for comment. 18-year-old gunman we know killed 19 children and 2 teachers. So for some reason, the House wants data on their guns and everything. No state charges for billionaire Sanford, Dewey Sanford and child porn probe. Dewey Sanford owns all the hospitals in North Dakota and Fargo. We have a bunch of his hospitals throughout North Dakota and South Dakota the last few years. They call it Sanford Hospital after this Dewey. The South Dakota Attorney General's office declined to file charges against billionaire T. Denny Sanford following an investigation into possession of child pornography, saying it found no prosecutable offenses within the state's jurisdiction, according to court document filed today. Sanford, a banker turned philanthropist, is the state's richest man and has donated billions of dollars to hospitals, universities, and charities. South Dakota investigators in 2019 began searching his email account as well as his cellular and internet service providers for possible possession of child pornography after his accounts were flagged by a technology firm. Attorney General's office said today that court filing that South Dakota Division of Criminal Investigation has completed its investigation and has determined that there are no prosecutable offenses within the jurisdiction of the state of South Dakota. Mr. Sanford appreciates the public's acknowledgement by the South Dakota Attorney General's office that the DCI has concluded its investigation and they have found no prosecutable crime, Marty Jackley, Sanford's attorney, said. So, I don't know, that story has changed many times, I guess. If you give billions of dollars to charity, and I guess they'll let you be a pedophile, I guess, or whatever. So, anyhow, that's America for you. Native students exercise their right to wear regalia at graduation, Cedar City, Utah. She walked up in a red carpet, and they crossed the stage to accept her diploma wearing an eagle feather, beat it onto her cap that her mother had gifted her. So right now, Native American students are graduating and wearing their Native American regalia, which is cool. They never let them do that before, so I mean, I don't see the big deal in it. Uvalde gunmen threatened rapes and school shootings on social media app Yubo in weeks leading up to the massacre. Salvador Ramos told girls he would rape them, showed off a rifle he bought, and threatened to shoot up schools in live streams on the social media app Yubo, according to several users who witnessed the threats in recent weeks. But those users, all teens, told news sources that they didn't take him seriously until they saw the news that Ramos had gunned down 19 children and 2 adults. 3 users said they witnessed Ramos threaten to commit sexual violence or carry out school shootings on Yubo, an app that is used by tens of millions of young people around the world. The users all said they reported Ramos' account to Yubo over the threats, but it appeared they said that Ramos was able to maintain a presence on the platform. News services reviewed one Yubo direct message in which Ramos allegedly sent a user the $2,000 receipt for his online gun purchase from a Georgia-based firearm manufacturer. So I guess people were turning this guy in, and he still did what he did, and nobody stopped him or did anything. Police commander made wrong decision not to breach classroom doors during the elementary school shooting. While the gunman was inside adjoining classrooms with children at Texas Elementary School Tuesday, 19 law enforcement officers stood in the hallway outside and took no action as they waited for room keys and tactical equipment, a state official said today. The on-scene commander at the time believed that it had transitioned from an active shooter to a barricaded subject. Texas Department of Public Safety Colonel Stephen McGraw said. Yet at that same time, children inside Robb Elementary School classrooms 111, 112, and Uvalde repeatedly called 911 and pleaded for help. They were in the middle of the deadliest school shooting since the 2012 Sandy Hook massacre. From the benefit of hindsight, where I'm sitting now, of course, it was not the right decision, McCraw said, of the supervisor's call not to confront the shooter. It was the wrong decision, period. I have no excuses for that. The official who made the decision not to breach the Uvalde Elementary School classroom was the school district police chief, Pedro Pete Arredondo, officials said. Arredondo has nearly 3 decades of law enforcement experience, according to the school district, and was recently elected to a seat of Uvalde City Council. He previously served as captain in school district police. Well, they made the wrong decision not to breach the school, and 80 minutes passed between when officers were first called to the school at 11:30 to when tactical team entered locked classrooms and killed the gunman at 12:50. So, man, they jacked their meat a long time. They could have saved a lot of lives. They made bad calls, and that's a damn tragedy, I tell you. Alleged Nazi sympathizer convicted for role in January 6 U.S. Capitol riot after claiming he didn't know Congress met there. A January 6 rioter and alleged white supremacist was convicted today on all 5 charges. And we mentioned this story earlier. I don't know why I got it twice, but my mistake. A parole right now was recommended for Manson family member Patricia Krenwinkel. Remember her? One of the Manson gals. The parole board in California recommended that Patricia Krenwinkel, one of Charles Manson's followers and murderer in the notorious 1969 killing spree, should be released, is what the parole board said. The decision will be to the Board of Parole Hearings Legal Division for review, a spokesperson for the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation said. Krenwinkel now is 74 years old. She was convicted of 7 counts of first-degree murder in August 1969 Manson family attacks that left 7 people dead. Among the victims were pregnant actress Sharon Tate, who was married to director Roman Polanski, Folger's coffee heiress Abigail Folger, and celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring. She had been denied parole 14 times since her conviction. The review process by the legal division could take 120 days. After that, the proposed parole decision goes to the governor's desk, where he has the authority to either reverse the decision or allow it to stand, according to CDCR spokespersons. So it looks like Krenwinkel is going to get out unless the governor overrides it and says, no, we're not going to let her out. She can rot. Taxing the rich, get this, taxing the rich right now could help fix the food crisis. Davos didn't want to know. Wealth taxes are never a popular rallying cry at Davos, a playground for billionaires, corporate titans, and top politicians. But Gabrielle Butcher, the executive director of Oxfam International, was frustrated this week's World Economic Forum when everybody there looked the other way as usual. High energy prices are putting massive strain on household budgets globally. And earlier this month, the United Nations estimated that 193 million people in 53 countries are experiencing acute hunger. Last year, a number of that is expected to rise as extreme weather and soaring food prices slam many vulnerable populations around the world. There needs to be resource mobilization to deal with these situations, those extreme situations we're dealing with now. Butcher said on the only panel on taxation on the official Davos program, something that can really change things is tax. Given the magnitude of crisis, government must think seriously about taxing the wealthy that accumulated by the world's richest people. Butcher told news sources even taxing wealth at relatively low levels will make a big difference, she said. According to Oxfam's, a 2% tax on assets greater than $5 million graduated to 5% for net worths above $1 billion could raise $2.5 trillion worldwide to feed the poor. The idea of a more progressive taxation gained traction during the pandemic as the rich saw their fortunes leap while millions of others were left behind. Oxfam estimated in a report released ahead of Davos that some 573 people have joined billionaire ranks since 2020, bringing the global total to 2,668 billionaires globally. Last year, the U.S. Secretary Janet Yellen proposed taxing billionaires on unrealized gains in their assets. Right now, taxes are only levied when they are sold, yet wealth taxes failed to generate much conversation in Swiss Alps this week, even as attendees sounded the alarm on the looming hunger crisis. We haven't seen a huge history of success for wealth taxes, OECD Secretary General Matthias Cormann said during the panel debate. It's true that of perceived fairness and equity front in terms of the politics of it, it's attractive, but in terms of what is actually achieved in substance is not that attractive. UN World Food Program Chief David Beasley told news sources that climate change and the war in Ukraine could generate widespread famines this year that would result in destabilization of many countries, which could even trigger mass migrations. What breaks your heart is that then there's $430 trillion of wealth on our planet today, Beasley said. When his organization doesn't have enough money, he continued, it has to choose which child it eats. Last year, Beasley got in a Twitter clash with Tesla CEO Elon Musk after he called on him to put 2% of his fortune, which he said would solve hunger. Beasley told Reuters this week that he remains hopeful that Musk or another wealthy individual will step up and said he remains willing to engage. He probably shouldn't count on Musk. On Twitter Thursday, Musk said use of the word billionaire as a pejorative is morally wrong and dumb, and he agreed with the comment that billionaires are at their most nefarious when spending their money to do good. But as the surging cost of living becomes a major problem for lower-income households in both developed and developing nations, governments are increasingly willing to implement measures. As issued previously, the UK government on Thursday did a policy U-turn and introduced a $6 billion tax on profits of its oil and gas companies to fund help with energy bills, bowing to pressure from campaigners who pointed out that many Britons now had to choose between heating and eating. Heating and eating at the form, wealth taxes remain a B-list talking point for Phil White, a British millionaire who travels to Davos for a small protest that called for higher taxes on the wealthy, himself included. That was a missed opportunity. We're going to see rising inequality for both rising energy and food prices, White said. Wealth taxes can play an immediate part in doing something about it. So, I mean, these greedy son of a bitches, these billionaires, they can't pay a 2% tax just to raise $2.3 trillion to feed the poor people on the planet so they don't starve to death. You know, they're all part of that elimination process that 1952, Rockefeller wanted to decrease the population. I think a lot of them are involved in that. You know, it's less for us and more for them if they get rid of more people. 2 professors found what creates a mass shooter. Will politicians pay attention each time a high-profile mass shooting happens in America? Grieving and incredulous nation scrambles for answers. Who was the criminal? And how could he usually have committed such a horrendous and inhumane act? A few details emerge about the individual's troubled life, and then everyone moves on. 3 years ago, Gillian Peterson, associate professor of criminology at Hamline University, and James Densley, a professional criminal justice at Metro State University, decided to take a different approach. In their view, the failure to gain a more meaningful and evidence-based understanding of why mass shooters do what they do seemed a lost opportunity to stop the next one from happening. Funded by the National Institute of Justice, the research arm of the Department of Justice, the research constructed a database of every mass shooter since 1966 who shot and killed 4 or more people in a public place, and every shooting incident at schools, workplaces, and places of worship since 1999. Peterson and Densley also compiled detailed life histories on 180 of the shooters, speaking to their spouses, parents, siblings, childhood friends, work colleagues, and teachers. As for the gunmen themselves, most didn't survive their carnage, but 5 who did talk to Peterson and Densley from prison, where they were serving life sentences. The researchers also found several people who planned a mass shooting but changed their mind. Their findings are also published in the 2021 book, The Violence Project, How to Stop a Mass Shooting Epidemic, reveals striking commonalities among the perpetrators of mass shootings and suggests a data-backed mental health-based approach which could identify and address the next mass shooter before he pulls the trigger. If politicians are willing to actually engage in finding and funding targeted solutions, news services talked to Peterson and Densley from their offices in St. Paul, Minnesota, about how our national understanding about mass shooters has to evolve, why using terms like monster is counterproductive, and why political talking points about mental health need to be followed up with concrete action. Since you both spend much of your time studying mass shootings, I wonder if you had the same stunned and horrified reaction as the rest of us to the Uvalde Elementary School shooting, or were you somehow expecting this? Gillian Peterson answered, on some level, we were waiting because mass shootings are socially contagious, and when one really big one happens and gets a lot of media attention, we tend to see others follow. But this one was particularly gutting. I have 3 elementary school kids, one of which is in the 4th grade. James Denley responded, I'm also a parent of 2 boys, a 5-year-old and a 12-year-old. My 12-year-old knows what I do for a living, and he's looking to me for reassurance, and I didn't have the words for him. How do I say this happened at a school, but now it's okay for you to go to school and live your life? It's heartbreaking. Are you saying there's a link between the Buffalo and Uvalde shootings? We don't know for sure at this point, Peterson said, but research would say that it is likely. You had an 18-year-old commit a horrific mass shooting. His name is everywhere. We all spend days talking about replacement therapy. The shooter was able to get our attention. So if you have another 18-year-old who is on the edge and watching everything, that could be enough to embolden him to follow suit. We have seen this many times before. Densley says mass shooters study other mass shooters. They often find a way relating to them, like, there are a lot of people out there who feel like me. Can you take us through the profile of mass shooters that emerged from your research? Peterson responds, there is this really consistent pathway. Early childhood trauma seems to be the foundation, whether violence in the home, sexual assault, parental suicide, extreme bullying. Then you see the build towards hopelessness, despair, isolation, self-loathing, oftentimes rejection from peers. That turns into a really identifiable crisis point where they are acting differently than others. Sometimes they have previous suicide attempts. What's different from traditional suicide is that self-hate turns against a group. They start asking themselves, whose fault is this? Is it a racial group or a woman or a religious group? Or is it my classmates? The hate turns outward. There's also this quest for fame and notoriety. You have written about how mass shootings are always acts of violence, suicide. Do people realize this is what's happening in mass shootings? Peterson says, I don't think most people realize that these are suicides. In addition to homicides, mass shooters design these to be their final acts. When you realize this, it completely flips the ideal that someone with a gun on the scene is going to deter this. If anything, that's an incentive for this individual. They're going in to be killed. They know when they go in there, they're going to be killed. It's hard to focus on the suicide because these are horrific homicides, but it's a critical piece we know so much from the suicide prevention world can translate here. I've heard many references over the last few weeks to monsters and pure evil. You said this kind of language actually makes things worse. Why? Well, Densley answers, if we explain this problem as pure evil or other labels like terrorist attack or hate crime, we feel better because it makes it seem like we found the motive and solved the puzzle, but we haven't solved anything. We just explained the problem. What this really problematic terminology does is prevent us from recognizing that mass shooters are us. This is hard for people to relate to because these individuals have done horrific, monstrous things. But 3 days earlier, that school shooter was somebody's son, grandson, neighbor, colleague, or classmate. We have to recognize them as troubled human beings earlier if we want to intervene before they become the monster. Peterson responds, the Buffalo shooter told his teacher that he was going to commit a murderous-suicide after he graduated. People aren't used to thinking that this kind of thing could be real because the people who do the mass shootings are evil, psychopathic monsters, and this kid in my class, that there is a disconnect. Do you get criticism about being too sympathetic towards mass shooters? Peterson says we're not trying to create excuses or say they shouldn't be held responsible. This is really about what is the pathway to violence for these people? Where does this come from? Only then can we start building data-driven solutions that work. If we're unwilling to understand the pathway, we're never going to solve it. So what are the solutions? Densley replies, there are things we can do right now as individuals, like arms or something as simple as checking in with your children. Peterson responds, then we really need resources at institutions like schools. We need to build teams to investigate when kids are in crisis and then link those kids to mental health services. The problem is that in a lot of places, those services are not there. There's no community mental health and no school-based mental health. Schools are the ideal setting because it does require a parent to take you there. A lot of perpetrators are from families where the parents are not particularly proactive about mental health appointments. In your book, you say that in an ideal world, 500,000 psychologists would be employed in schools around the country. If you assume a modest salary of $70,000 a year, that amounts to $35 billion in funding. Are you seeing any national or state level political momentum for even a sliver of these kind of mental health resources? Densley responds, every time these tragedies happen, you always ask yourself, is this the one that's going to finally move the needle? The Republican narrative is that we're not going to touch guns because this is all about mental health. Well, then we need to ask the follow-up question of what's the plan to fix that mental health problem? Nobody's saying, let's fund this, let's do it. We'll get the votes. That's the political piece that's missing here. Are Democrats talking about mental health? Densley replies, too often in politics it becomes an either-or proposition. Gun control or mental health, our research says that none of these solutions is perfect on its own. We have to do multiple things at one time and put them together as a comprehensive package. People have to be comfortable with complexity, and that's not always easy. Peterson responds, post-Columbine, there's been this real focus on hardening schools, metal detectors, armed officers, teaching our kids to run and hide. This shift I'm starting to see, at least here in Minnesota. is that people are realizing hardening doesn't work. Over 90% of time school shooters target their own school. These are insiders, not outsiders. We just had a bill in Minnesota that recognized public safety as training people in suicide prevention and funding counselors. I hope we keep moving in that direction. Densley said in Uvalde, there was an army of good guys with guns in the parking lot. The hard approach doesn't seem to be getting the job done. Do you support red flag laws? Peterson said our research certainly supports them because so many perpetrators are actively showing warning signs. They are talking about doing this and telling people they are suicidal. But what Buffalo showed us is that just because you have a red flag law in the books doesn't mean people are trained in how it works and how they should be implementing it. What was the change to make the laws more effective? Densley responds, there are two pieces. One is training and awareness. People need to know that the laws exist, how it works, and who has a duty to report an individual. The second piece is the practical component of law enforcement. What is the mechanism to safely remove those firearms, especially if you have a small law enforcement presence, maybe only one or two officers, and you're asking them to go into somebody's rural home and take care of their entire arsenal of weapons? What should have happened in Buffalo, given the state of New York has a red flag law? Peterson responds, from what we know, it sounds like there should have been more education with the police, the mental health facility, and the school. If any one of those three had initiated the red flag process, it should have prevented the shooter from making the purchase. It really shows the limitations of our current system. Law enforcement investigated, but the shooter had no guns at the moment, so it was not an immediate threat. The mental health facility concluded it was not an immediate crisis, so he goes back to school. If it's not a red-hot situation in the moment, nobody can do anything. It was none of these people's job to make sure that he got connected with somebody in the community who could have helped him in the long term. Densley states also something has to be put on people's radar. Even if there's not the next shooter, something's not right. How can we help these individuals reintegrate in a way that's going to try and turn their lives around? That gets lost if we fixate just on the word threat. I was struck by a detail in your book about one of the perpetrators you investigated minutes before he opened fire. You report that he called a behavioral health facility, and there always some form of reaching out or communication of intent before it happens. Peterson responded, you don't see it as often with older shooters who often go into their workplaces, but for young shooters, it's almost every case. We have to view this leakage as a cry for help. If you're saying, I want to shoot the school tomorrow, you are also saying, I don't care if I live or die. You're also saying, I'm completely hopeless, and you're putting it out there for people to see because part of you wants to be stopped. We have to listen because pushing people out intensifies their grievances and makes them angrier. The Parkland shooter had just been expelled from school. Then he came back. This is not a problem we can punish our way out of. So that's what these top criminal justice professors say from their experiences. And that's the news that I thought was important for today. And the phone lines are open if anybody wants to call in. Call in. Let's speak about whatever we want to talk about tonight. I see we got Dane and Shannon, the northern Jarrell. I see Michael buzzed out. I don't know where the hell he went. Maybe he fell asleep. Hi, Pink Squirrel. How you doing? Pink Squirrel is here now. Yeah, so the phone lines are open. If anybody wants to call in, give us a jingle there. How you doing, Jarrell? How you doing, Jarrell? Yeah, I can hear you. What's on your mind?
Oh, okay. Sorry, it took a little.
Hey, Shannon, how
Hola.
you doing? Hola.
I'm okay. I'm good. How are you,
Oh, I'm doing
honey?
pretty good. You know, yeah, not too bad. So what do you know for sure today?
Well, I'm going stir crazy in my house. I need a vacation.
Well, hop on a bus, Gus. You don't need to discuss much. Make a new plan, Stan. You come up to Fargo,
Don't need to be coy,
right?
Roy. Just listen to
It's
me.
warmed up here. It's 78 degrees today, so you can come up and see me if you want.
Oh, that's perfect weather. That's
Oh
heaven.
yeah, it's nice.
That's hot for you, though,
Oh yeah, I'm
isn't
burning
it?
up today. I was sweating.
Oh, it's
I was
nice?
actually
Okay.
sweating.
That's cool.
Yeah, 78, sweating. Ugh.
Oh.
I hear you.
78 is like perfect weather here. It's like it gets to be 102 and 100% humidity here. That's hot.
Oh man, yeah. Reminds me of Florida when I go to Florida.
I'm telling you, I live in hell. It's hell.
We actually have a place
Oh, but at
called
least
Hell,
Florida's got a breeze.
Michigan.
We don't have that. We're 8 feet below sea level. So like you can see the humidity. It's so thick and you can taste it. It's, oh my God. No breeze. It's just bad.
We got plenty of wind here and a lot of wind power, so you'll love it here. And you got to bring some kites, so good kite flying weather up here in North Dakota. And they call Chicago the Windy City. Come to Fargo, shit. We're windy.
I would
Thank you
love
for
it.
reminding
I
me about the
love to fly
kites.
kite. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds kind of cool, you know? The right kind, you know,
Yeah.
like all sweet and slick, you know?
Yeah, Crazy Lady just got a kite. It was a dragonfly, and she did a live on TikTok. It looked like so much fun. I love it.
I don't know. I think I'd kind of dig one that looked like the Next Generation Enterprise or something, you know?
That'd be kind of cool. Or like a dragon with a really long tail.
You know, be like, oh, you know, have it going back and forth. Be like, we're experiencing interference, Captain. We're trying to restabilize the
that would be
warfield.
Put that on TikTok.
Well, I have
Yeah.
better things to divert my attentions to than, you know, frivolous things. But, you know, it's a cool concept. You know, when I caught a little bit of your show the other night when I was having the mic problems and all, I just wanted to say that was kind of cool to see you kind of burly for a change, you know. That was kind of type, you know. Because you always got to kind of worry about a dude that's always straight-laced all the time, you know. But when you, you know, that's kind of cool. It gauges you well.
What are you talking about?
The other day when he was like a little bit surly, you know, that him and Mike were going at it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
That's...
If you don't understand that, then you're an idiot. You know?
That's wonderful. That's show business, honey.
I thought it was great.
Their dynamic is fantastic. You know who they are, but they love each other. So it's just that's the way they talk to each other.
Dude, it reminded me
They remind me of the two men on the Muppets that used to be in the balcony. They were best friends, but yet they bickered all the time. It's like hypnotizing. It's like
I love those dudes, but I was thinking more like the two dudes from brain fart. The Stephen Colbert Report, where he had Bruce Willis on, and he was just like, yeah, what? You do your own stunts? Yeah, right. And then they started going at it, and Bruce Willis ended up bossing. And that's how I felt with Michael. But they were both cool, you know. I mean, it was all staged, but still, you know, it was awesome.
They really love each other, and they're always cool by the end of the show. But
that's what makes it.
I get more people telling me I love it when them two go at it because the dynamic, you know, because of one's going. I mean, you got the big burly, strong, almost Godfather like Michael J. Steele, and then Michael, you know, he's this military sharp, but it's like wait, stop. Listen, and he knows how to handle, but Penny Candy, Velvet Breeze, and just don't know. It works. It's great. People love it.
Nice.
I know.
Oh, I hear you.
They don't.
You know, because it's like good cop and bad cop can only go so far, but bad cop and worse cop,
I told you, Michael. See, Michael, people love it. Yeah, but if you go on any other show,
kill each other a few times.
But we
That's good.
love him. You can't strangle him.
Right. I mean, just though it always reaches back around to
Hi,
where
Eric.
everything's
How you
cool
doing,
around in the
sweetheart?
end, you know? As long as things end up
Yeah.
cool in the end, that's what really wraps it up tight, you know? Case
Yeah.
closed.
They're always cool. It's just, I don't know, they're dynamic. You go to any other podcast and they start arguing and people want to start running. And
Oh, I hear you.
I
You know,
don't
well,
know.
the
I
Army's a
had
little,
my own little issue today with some little crazy girl. And she went on to like 4 or 5 other podcasts just causing trouble, telling Eric here, shut up, and go on other podcasts going, you suck. And I didn't want her coming on this podcast and ruining it. So I said, if she comes on here, she's
Shit, I'll
blocking
argue
me
with her.
immediately.
there you go.
I'll set her
Crazy. There's some
straight.
crazies that run
Let her call
on
on,
this
Shannon. I'll
fucking
set her
app.
straight. I'll set her straight.
There
Huh?
you
I'll
go.
set her straight. She calls into my show. I'll do a little Sam Kinison
No,
on
no,
her.
no. She's not going to. She was all
You're
talking like
distorting a
she
bit, a
knew
little
all
bit.
about Darwinism and all this.
You're distorting a little bit, Shannon, for some reason.
Who? Not me?
No, it's sometimes
Might be my
whenever the people have
Bluetooth.
their mic on, it'll cut out and do that. I think sometimes. I think you're good now.
Oh, I don't know.
A
Is it
little
better?
bit, yeah. Yeah, we just got to remember to mute when we're not speaking.
Okay.
'Cause that helps out a little feedback, I think, we get on Podbeam.
Yeah, it might be the Bluetooth. Anyway, she was like telling everybody how like she knew that, oh, this world is not reality. It's all like a video game. It's just a video game. There is no reality. And she goes, there is no God. That she's saying she believed in complete evolution, that we all came from a single cell amoeba. I'm like, we do evolve to a certain degree, but you don't believe in creationism. That I'm like, what about the chicken and the egg? Well, I'll tell you about the chicken and the egg. And then she got really quiet. So then she's like, well, with Darwin. And I'm like, okay, well, then that should explain to you exactly why there is a creator, because of the missing link. What do you know about the missing link? She goes, oh, it's something in your spine. I just was like, oh my God. She goes, you sound like a flat earther. And I'm like, you are barking at the wrong tree, honey, because I'm so not a flat earther. You sound like the flat earther, that the world's a video game. And she, oh my God. Then she goes, yeah, well, you just, screw you. You got 4 children. It's like, what? You don't even know me. It's your first day on Podbean, and you think I go, I don't have any children, honey. Then the war was on. Then she kept telling my Eric, who's like my brother down here, to shut up because he's plugging shows. I'm like, oh my God, this girl's on medication. Sure, she needs to be. She made a fool of herself. Everybody in their chat was like going, leave Podbean, leave the podcast, get out of here. And oh my, so anyway, that's why she's going to be blocked.
Redneck Rambler's got the missing link is the reptilian. Well, I've heard that some people say that we come from, we're like, one weird thing is when you look at the little sperm, when they magnify it, it looks like a little tadpole.
Mm-hmm.
We look like little frogs, little tadpoles. Yeah, and then some people say we might have come from the sea. I've heard that, not from monkeys, but from the sea, because there's certain parts of our body that could come from the ocean, and I don't know. I wish I had all the answers, but it's just interesting, the theories you hear. Yeah.
We adapt. Yes, we do. We do evolve with climate and just for the survival of the species. But there's no way we came from a single-celled amoeba. There's just no way. I'm sorry. It did not happen. I disagree. I believed, because of the chicken and the egg theory, one had to come first, or they came together, which would mean divine intervention.
There are some animals.
Creationism.
There are some animals that actually can mate with themselves, and actually they lay eggs, and they claim that these prehistoric
Yes.
animals,
It's called
well, and they claim that humans might have
buddies.
been able to do it.
It's called
Humans might have been able to do
asexual.
that a long time ago. There's certain animals, I think the platypus or something like that, there's some animals that can still replicate. They lay
Lay
eggs,
eggs.
and they replicate like that. So, and they can have sex with
Uh-huh.
themselves, and so,
Right.
but there is some research that humans might have been able to.
Well, I guess a
Humans might have been
hermaphrodite
able
can
to
do
do it,
that.
And I was thinking
A hermaphrodite can
about
just like
the
a toe.
Immaculate Conception. Virgin Mary. She could have been a genetic throwback, where she could
Yep.
have been able to get pregnant without having sex, because there were some throwbacks they found, scientists, and many animals that used to
Mm-hmm.
be able to do that, and something got turned off, Here
Mm-hmm.
comes Eric. Hey, Eric.
Well, they said that there's Honey Bear. Hi, sweetheart.
Hi, Shannon. I'm happy TGIF, everybody. Well, and I came just in time when you were discussing like the lady over in Felix's show, Amity.
Uh-huh.
I mean, she went full Karen on you, but she reminded me of that other Podbean Karen, Lion Swan who was a total Karen to Mr. A in Frankie D show a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, but she made a fool of herself, though, because I outwitted her by 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
And I think other people here on Podbean are gonna see her for the Karen that she is, right, Shannon?
oh, absolutely. You don't really need to be ruffling Podfather's feathers. That's the wrong man to be doing that to.
And you certainly don't want to insult other Podbean friends like Joe Antonio and Jester and Sarge and the old man and Danny
Right.
Joe and John DeVito and others.
Uh-huh. And she's already, I guess, offended Dose and Seeker, and
Wow.
and I'm going to tell you honestly, I went in my secret identity, and boy, she really upset me with the 4-kid thing, and then telling you to shut up. So I went in my secret identity, and I went in. She went in 4 different podcasts and was cussing people out. I took screenshots of it. Yeah, just going in and telling people you suck, your show sucks, and I mean, I'm like, God, this. And she's like, then she went into Di's program. Oh, people are being mean to me. And it's like,
What you're going to Milk Dog's show?
oh God. Well, you missed it. It was worse than you and Michael could have ever been.
Well, our
Michael
stuff is
Day.
Our
It was
stuff
pretty
is real.
bad. Oh yeah.
Well, I'm just doing my pod hopping this evening. I was over in Jason Burmes's Info Warrior show, and then before that, I was over in Tim Swain's podcast, and and I chatted with Tim Swain for a little bit, and I'm also good about spreading a message at New Year's, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day weekends, that encouraging friends to be safe and responsible, to not drink and drive, because we want everybody to arrive alive.
Yes.
And if they're going to be out partying this weekend, they might need to consider having a designated driver with them, or having like Uber or Lyft to get them to and from their destination. Hopefully that public service announcement might resonate here and at other podcasts. It also did that at Joe Antonio's earlier too.
Yeah, thank you. I
Good
appreciate
advice,
that.
honey.
That's for
Very
sure.
good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure you're probably, Michael, going to be reminding people of that this weekend.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
we lose too many of our loved ones,
Because getting a DUI, getting a DUI is just not worth it.
No, they ruin you these
Yeah.
days,
Yep. Mhm. Very expensive too.
And then the message I said in that PSA, arrive alive, because we want to see everybody back, after the weekend is over.
Yep. I'm glad I don't drink, so I don't have to worry about that.
I choose not to drink alcohol for health and ethical
me
reasons.
too. That's good.
Because I mean,
Good for you,
we've
Redneck
seen what
Rambler.
alcoholism has done to other family members and friends and other people, and how it's ruined a lot of people's lives.
I
And
think
cost people their
alcohol is
lives.
up there with all the worst drugs there is because it's so easily accessible and it's cheap and but it impairs you so much. And I'm not a holy roller. I would never date somebody and say, oh, you can't drink because I don't drink. I'm not one of those. But just drink moderately, don't get ugly or abusive, and don't drink and drive.
Exactly.
I'll serve you all the cocktails you want. Anyway.
Well, and I know being
make
an
sure you
enabler is
warn
not a
other
good thing
people about our new Podbean freak, please, because she's a podcast killer.
Yeah, she kind of reminded me of a certain Mr. Brown from Castbox that crashed a couple of people's podcasts here on Podbean, like the Raw Report and and some podcaster named Sue, and I think she crashed like this Obscure Curio show Mr. Brown did, and but they knew how to handle him remarkably well. But and then there was this one radical socialist Kai who refused to let him come on his show.
Right.
But I mean, but other than her being a Karen, she's a real freak show. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Trying to sound so like an academic, and she's sounded like all of 20, and then she didn't even know I know about Darwinism, but didn't know what the missing link was. Like,
I think Bahram Yu would probably teach her a thing or two about flat Earth, science.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe in flat Earth, but still.
Me neither.
But people could believe what they want to believe, but don't sit there. She started with me. She's like, oh, you got 4 kids. And it's like, what? You don't know me. I don't have 4 kids. And even if I did have 4 kids, what would that be? What would be wrong with that? So,
Right.
But I don't have 4 kids. I mean, are you putting down people who've got 4 kids? Like, I don't know. She's a nut.
Well, but I'm getting about ready to hop back to chat, but just want to wish everybody a great Memorial Day weekend.
Well, thank you, my brother. You too, sweetheart.
Good seeing
And
you.
I'll see you later on this evening, honey.
I'll see you around the Podbean.
Okay, sweetie. Bye. I love that man. I swear to God, I wish I had money. He does all this and plugs in the shows for so many people. He does like 2 shows at a time, all unconditionally, and doesn't expect anything. I mean, he can make you or break you on Podbean. Believe me, he's an amazing person, a good-hearted person.
I don't know why I keep on getting the flash when it pops in of the intro for the Gummy Bears cartoon where they're drinking the gummy berry juice. He just seems cool,
He's genuine, He's a real good person, and you really want to be on his side. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I haven't really seen nobody bad here.
Yeah, he can make your podcast go away. If you know what I mean. That's why they call him the Podfather.
The Podfather, that's great.
The Podfather. Anyway, so what's on the agenda? How about we got a new pandemic, the monkeypox?
Yeah. I mean,
oh, yay.
What do they think of next, huh? Jesus.
I know. They said it originated from Africa.
I don't know. I mean, it's pretty creepy. Mm-hmm. We get over one pandemic, then we go to another pandemic, and it's...
They said that, let me see what, they said the signs and symptoms of monkeypox, just to let people know. It says, in humans, the symptoms of monkeypox are similar to, but milder than symptoms of smallpox. Monkeypox begins with fever, headaches, muscle aches, exhaustion. The main difference between symptoms of smallpox and monkeypox is that monkeypox causes lymph nodes to swell, while smallpox does not. The incubation period time for infection symptoms for monkeypox is 7 to 14 days. The illness begins with fever, headache, muscle aches, backache, swollen lymph nodes, chills, exhaustion. Okay, then it says lesions after that progress through the following stages before falling off. Macules, papules, vesicles, pustules, and scabs. This illness typically lasts for 2 to 4 weeks in Africa. Monkeypox has been shown to cause death in as many as 1 to 10 persons who contact the disease. Yuck.
Do you see any connection with that? Is there any possible connection that you can see in what you've read and all? Are they connecting it any way with the COVID, like a substrain or something like that, or is this supposed to be totally different?
I don't think so. But, think about the, what do they call it? There was a movie about it, the signs of the apocalypse, where, not the apocalypse, but the, what's that movie? It actually was filmed down here. When you start to get boils and stuff all over your face, it's one of the signs of
scabies?
No, it's like the end of the world when what's that movie with Hilary Swank? Hold on, I gotta find out. That'll drive me crazy. Hilary Swanky movies.
Just seems
really
like there's been too much investigation and research into the COVID stuff, and a lot of crap being found out about that they needed a good diversion with this monkeypox.
Well, science has really fell behind on like viruses and that. They were going to cure AIDS and cancer, so for the last 50 years, all the research dollars went to cancer and AIDS. And all these bacteria and all this stuff, the scientists quit studying them. It wasn't priority. And now they're saying they got to go back to the basics. They got to start studying diseases again. They got to go back to bacteria. They got to go back to viruses. And it's kind of science. Nobody was really keeping an eye on the ball. So now all this stuff is going rampant, because nobody kept up on it. They could eradicate this stuff if they'd have been paying attention. But, I remember there was a cream they gave me one time from the hospital, and they said that this stuff, don't let anybody else touch your skin. Well, it actually made you get, like, breakouts and, like, the little pustules, And it was really weird.
What the cream did, or the virus?
For something a long time ago. Yeah, and it even said on the package, don't let anybody else touch this. It was, I'm trying to think what it was for, but it was some.
Isn't that acetone? It's got like acid in it, and it kind of, they use it for wrinkles.
Yeah, it might have been something like that. Well, I had a rash.
It's real powerful.
And it was really weird. I wind up.
Oh.
Yeah,
a rash cream that gives you a rash?
It gives you like blisters. Yeah, some kind of crap. Yeah,
that's
something the hospital gave. But I was thinking, man, if I didn't like somebody, I would put this shit on their coffee cup. I'd put it on their coffee cup or something. If I didn't like them, they'd touch it, and then they'd have these big boils all over their hands. That's what this.
Yeah, I know it. The movie's called The Reaping, and it's about the plagues. The biblical plagues,
Right.
That's kind of like what it is. They say like towards the end of the world, when the Antichrist comes, you'll have the plagues. That's what like this monkeypox, man, because one of the plagues, you get like these boils all over you and shit. Sounds like monkeypox.
Yeah, that's a lot of the Hollywood propaganda when they start talking about the coming of the Antichrist. It said the Antichrist would come through, Greece, Babylon, Media Persia, Greece, Imperial to Papal Rome, all the way to what we're seeing now with Chrislam. That's a dude we've had for a while. It literally said when they would make the image of the beast that whoever didn't take his mark in their forehead and their right hand would bad things would happen, and we can look back and see that happen. I mean, they always say, oh, the Catholic good Church of God went out there and burned all the devil worshippers and the witches and stuff at the no, they burned out all the believers until nobody knew what the hell was going on, and until they were like, hey, do you know anything? No, I don't know nothing. Okay, you can live. we barely escaped. I mean, barely. You basically take that church and flip it 180, then you got something godly. Holy crap! I mean, luckily I knew all that stuff when I was a kid. If you want to see a man of God or come out of the Catholic Church, all you got to do is see how he runs.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Pedophilia is so rampant through the Catholic Church. It's just so. They ought to let them get married. You know, they need to change that rule. Get married or actually.
Oh,
break
it's a
that
lot
vow,
more than that.
You know, so they won't. You know.
It's a lot more than that. I mean, it started in Babylon, and you take the different names of the devil: Beelzebub, the Lord of the Flies, and then Zeus in the Greek. That would be proclaimed Christ in the end of days. Just put X in front of it, like Xmas. Then shorten it down. You got Baal, Chi, Zeus, the Lord Jesus. Same guy, same devil we've always had. Even at the churches, they say, oh, we're looking for the days of Elijah. I said, well, look to the days of Elijah when the land was all going after the Lord. And then Elijah showed up and was like, either Yeshua is God or the Lord is. Choose this day, America. Holy crap. History repeats itself. It says there is nothing new under the sun. Everything that has happened before will happen again, and it's happening right before our blind eyes.
Can I tell you something? And please don't get mad at me.
Yeah, go
Every
ahead.
time you say cheeses, I think of getting some Cheese Whiz and putting it on a cracker. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like Cheese Whiz. And I'm like, oh, Cheese Whiz, this sounds really good.
A few months ago, I was at Kroger's and I saw one of the guys on his knees restocking the cheese, thing. And I took a picture. I go, man, everybody's just dropping their knees in front of Jesus nowadays.
Cheese Whiz. Jesus, that's what it is. I'll put a picture of Jesus on the can of Cheese Whiz. Cheese Whiz.
What do you think when people take pictures, they go, say cheese?
Bless you.
But
You'll be blessed if you buy this Cheese Whiz.
I hear that. But what you guys were saying earlier with the, how life originated and all. I mean, on one tip, it's like, well, we have basically a thing called irreducible complexity, like a mousetrap or an eyeball. You remove one part, it doesn't work. So with the evolution standpoint, are we supposed to believe that magically somehow some force of nature decided that we needed all these useless things until the last piece was put in? Oh, that's Mother Nature. That's another cult, religious cult. Like, come on, really? And then we have symbiosis. If there aren't certain insects, flowers can't pollinate in the food, shrivels up. I mean, there has to be a certain stasis in order for us to survive and thrive and stuff. We had to have food, we had to have moderate temperatures and all that stuff. Things are way too precise for it to be willy-nilly. And if people really wanted to go and be Darwinists, yeah, cool, believe in Darwin. On his deathbed when he said they took a good idea and turned it into a religion, holy crap. He realized there was holes in his own stuff, like a good scientist does, When you look at it,
wow.
in a day and age before the Ice Age, when there were megalithic cities and societies all over this planet and remnants of advanced technology, and we look in our own good book and it says, well, God placed the stars, the sun, and the moon in the heavens. So that means when I die, I'm going to shoot off into outer space? Or does that mean, like Star Trek, that we were colonizing this planet from somewhere else? I mean, we got to be logical about things, This is, when you look at all the evidence, colonization and seeding is the only thing that really it makes sense in the end that I see.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Oh, to change the subject, I watched an amazing movie. The Kingsman. The last sequence of The Kingsman. Actually, it's a prequel. Oh, it's better than all of them put together. It's fantastic. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I was just like, whoa, the special effects were great. Storyline was fantastic. You need to watch it, Michael, if you get some time.
What's it called? I'm sorry.
The King's Man. You know, the franchise that came out, there were the King's Men. Well, this one's called the King's Man. It went back to the first where they began, and Ralph Fiennes is in it, and I mean, it's great. It really is.
Okay, sure.
So, highly recommend.
Sweet. It's nice to see a good British movie or something like that because they kind of like spiff up the good dressing and stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah. And this one's just, all of them were great, but this one just was fantastic.
And the etiquette, you know, I dig that, the honor and the chivalry and stuff, you know, I dig that stuff.
Yeah. And how they began, the Kingsmen, is they started, they were kind of, the head one, I forgot his name, but Ralph Fiennes' character, he was claimed to be like a pacifist, and because he didn't go to World War I, and but he actually secretly was like tougher than like MI6 or James Bond all put together, and they had this secret little society called the King's Men. And it went to where they went and actually killed Rasputin and all these people who were opposing like genocide. It was just so good. So good. Mm.
Rasputin, he's a character, man. They did everything to that guy to kill him, and wow, kept on coming.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
bad
no.
Well, he supposedly cured somebody or somebody. And
Yeah,
that's where the king always wanted him around, or the Tsar of Russia or something wanted him around because he
Exactly.
cured him. He thought he got cured by him, you know. Yeah.
Nicholas and Alexander,
Yep.
the last Tsar of Russia. Their kids had hemophilia. Yeah, but yeah, and he cured the King's Man, but he ended up killing Rasputin because he was actually really, 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 really evil.
That's what everybody said. But then again, how many times do they say the same thing about the apostles and certain prophets and stuff, you know? Sometimes you got to look at deeper into things. Like when Michael was y'all were talking about the shootings and stuff, you know, one of the things to me is like, oh, well, if you shoot the shooter, I mean, yeah, a lot of times if they're kid's life or whatever right at the moment, yeah, to, neutralize the target. But, if he's leaving a room and going down the hallway, drop him. Because, I mean, how many times do we find out that PSYOPs were involved or something like that? Their people were programmed or sent in. And you got to find out the root source. I mean, look at what they did with the JFK assassination. Jack Ruby killed him. Now we don't know nothing. So in the end, it's more important if any of these are leaked out, especially when you see these shootings where, one teacher got killed, that was sad, and look, there she is in another shooting or something, injured. That's convenient. And then like 5 or 6, 7 different shootings all the way around, you see what looks like could possibly be the same girl, unless she has like 7 twin identical sisters running around. They call her false flag girl and stuff. So you can't always just judge a book by its cover. And if every one of these shooters are neutralized like that, well, there goes our chance to figure out who the hell's behind all this crap.
Exactly. I know you and I haven't been friends that long. I don't even know if I remember telling Michael about this. But my first boyfriend, my first live-in boyfriend in Dallas, his mother, she was probably one of those beautiful women you would ever see to walk on the face of the earth. She was a Choctaw Indian in her blood. She was real dark skin, bright blue eyes, kind of medium golden brown hair, beautiful, perfect smile, real voluptuous body like Marilyn Monroe. She was Jack Ruby's girlfriend. And poor thing, they kept her doped up. I got her hooked on heroin. But, I mean, she was exactly like the Marilyn Monroe. I mean, she would actually go to the hair salon and go get dolled up every single day, makeup, hair, wore $10,000 outfits every day, even during the day, mink furs, 25-carat diamond rings. I mean, they kept her in the money, but they kept her doped up. She was their little trophy beauty queen. But she ended up killing herself and shooting herself in the stomach with a shotgun right in front of Mark. And but the stories she could tell, man, I would have loved to gone back and interviewed her all these years about Jack Ruby. You know, what she knew about. I think they kept her doped up because of what she knew. You know, didn't want her to leave for one, and for two, because of, you know, pillow talk and what she knew about Jack Ruby.
That reminds you of the Marilyn Monroe too. What happened to Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah, I
The
hear
same
ya.
kind of deal, you know. Look at all the
Who, Eric? Jack
Marilyn
Ruby
Monroe.
or the
Oh,
woman? Eric's asking me a question.
yeah, Marilyn Monroe died young too.
I think, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's the same thing like they did to Marilyn Monroe,
yeah,
Michael.
yeah.
The woman was my first boyfriend's mother. Yeah. So, I mean, she, beautiful lady, sweet, but yeah, she didn't live very long. Yep. She died in her mid-40s. Yeah, very interesting. Sad. Very, very sad. But, I don't know.
I think I saw something about this fireman coming up with a device or something in case there were as an altercation, like if you heard shots coming down in another room or something, they could shut the door and have it locked or something along those lines. I'll have to look that up.
What?
Yeah, like a panic room
Yeah, after some
type
shooting or
deal.
something.
Yeah, that's what my friend's doing up in Minneapolis. He's
Barricade them
retrofitting
in.
all the schools to make them shooter safe, you know, with panic rooms and like a bag, things will drop down from the ceiling and catch the criminal, you know, but you're going to have people monitoring cameras, I'm sure, and everything, you know, with these devices, you know, in a bank. Some of the banks, these things will drop down and catch you in a cage where you can't get away, you know, and they want to retrofit the schools. Yeah, they want to
Right.
retrofit all the schools in the United States. And my friend was talking about this about 3 years ago, and they were working on it, but they just got to sell it to the government, you know, and perfect it. And hopefully they do soon rather than later.
Well, if you had it like at all the different, at every possible entry point, have it where and try to limit those numbers, but have like I don't know what you call it, like a decompression chamber where only one or a few people can enter at a time. That door closes, then the other door opens after metal or whatever has been detected or whatever, you know, that way without being invasive, but still, you know, scanning, you know,
And that's what I
magnetically
was
for
saying.
that
Like,
kind of
we have
stuff.
all this at airports. We have this stuff at courtrooms, federal courthouses, but we can't give it to our children. We have all this technology, you know, to do this stuff. And why not give it to our
Right.
kids, you know? But I noticed the federal building, they all have it to protect the IRS workers, Social Security workers, and, you know, they got all the security cameras, everything, you know, and metal detectors, you know, and then you got the Homeland Security covering people getting on planes, going through X-ray machines and all that. We should have all that at the school doors. Each door have a security guard. Even the courthouse in Fargo, you got to go past 2 sheriffs. They got security there. You know, you got to take out your keys. You take out all metal objects out of your pockets. You know, your belt off. And if that thing buzzes, then they check you out with the wand. Then they wand you, you know. And that's what they should do at the schools, you know, wand people. You know, even wand the kids, because a kid last week, I was reading on the show, 8 years old, brought a loaded pistol, Glock, to school. You know, was going to bring it to show and tell, you know, and it was his dad, somehow or another, he got his dad's gun and put it in his backpack and took it to school. But that's just an accident there to waiting to happen too, you know. If that thing would have.
I bet you he
Right.
wouldn't even know how to cock it or have the strength to
I
pull
don't
it
know.
back.
My dad was taking me out shooting when I was like 9.
I wouldn't want to test
remember
it.
8, 9, going out shooting guns with my dad, you know, shooting rifles, pistols.
Were you shooting
Yeah,
semi-automatic?
45. I
Like
shot a
9mm and stuff like that?
357 Magnum and then a 45 he had. Yeah, and man, what a kick. What a kick.
Those are
I'll tell you
revolvers.
what. What a kick for a little kid. But, I mean,
Yeah.
it was scary, but, you know, I went out and,
There's a long barrel for a
oh yeah,
handgun.
they'll
Very
knock a tree
accurate,
down,
though.
them 357.
The 357 is one of my favorite handguns. I mean, you could boom, 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 boom. I mean, longer the barrel, the more
Yeah, I went out
accurate you are.
shooting about 2 months ago. I had a little 390 that fit in your pocket. People wouldn't even know you had it. And man, I'll tell you what, that son of a gun had some power. It was loud, just a little 390, and that would kill you, you know.
Like a little Derringer? Like a Derringer almost?
Pretty
That
close,
small?
a little bit bigger. Yeah, a 390. Yeah, and it's a little bigger than a 22.
Nice.
A little bigger
Like a
than
little bitty
22.
bullet.
As far as the bullets that go in it are bigger than a 22, you know.
Actually, that's a very, very good gun because what happens is it'll penetrate the skull, but it's by the brain and everything, it usually doesn't make an exit wound. So what it'll do is it'll just bounce off and scramble the brain. So usually one shot to the head will do it.
Yeah.
Reminds me of
Yeah.
that episode of with Ace the Body Ventura when he was talking to this dude that claimed to be a super soldier, and he believed the guy. And I looked at his build and everything. Sure, he had long, greasy hair. He was older, but looking at his build, I could see it. And he'd be like, yeah, they'd give me a phone call, say a word or something, and then next thing you know, I'd wake up 2 weeks later after having dreamed about fighting in the desert. So, you know, I mean, if it's so simple, I mean, they could just sit back and do that like that to these people. You go send them in and shoot them up and everything like that. Everybody freaks out, changes everything, but nothing ever really truly gets fixed except whatever their agendas they're plotting. That's why it's always important
There's
to
a
trace
super
shit.
soldier thing and Ace Ventura Pet Detective?
No, the Ace the Body Ventura, the governor.
Oh.
Conspiracy theory.
I used to love that show. Oh my God. And yeah.
You know?
Actually,
I loved it when he disproved the lone gunman theory of JFK assassination. He took the same gun from the same exact vantage point and shot it exactly at the very point. It was all done mathematically in measurements, and even him as an expert marksman couldn't do it as quick as they did it. And Lee Harvey Oswald did not have his skill level. So he pretty much proved that there was more than one shooter. Definitely.
Yeah, Oswald was just a patsy. I remember some video once was trying to say it was one of the dudes in the back seat or something, and I was like, I don't know, whatever. It's been a long time since seeing that one, so, you know.
I think it came from the grassy knoll myself. Sorry.
Right. That probably
Because
too.
if you look at the video over and over, they shoot him. It looks like in the back of the head first, and he falls forward. Then all of a sudden, he's being thrust backward, like boom. And I mean, not just from the brakes of the car, like there's actually something that hit him from behind. I mean, but according to Chris Wilson, if you hear Chris Wilson talk, that was a body double, and that actually JFK lived many years after that and died in Greece. I don't know about that.
You know, Kennedy, he had a lot going up against him. He was taking out the Federal Reserve, putting us back and stuff, so that he was going and investigating the Israeli nuclear programs and stuff. I mean, you mess with these people that own and rule this world, and you stand to attack them billions of dollars out of these snakes' pockets. Oh, you know you're going to get bit, you know?
Yeah.
And then ever since then, there was this huge anti-communist thing going on where everybody was sick and tired of seeing communists behind every bush. So that leaked down, so that destabilized our militias and started the attacks that led to Ruby Ridge. And I mean, it's just a whole clueless slide everywhere. when you have a well in your village that's poisoned, but nobody knows it, it's like these tributaries go out to everywhere, and everybody's trying everything to fix the problem. It's like, clean the water, basically, and things are bad.
We got about
Yeah.
2 minutes to go on the program here. I'd like to thank Shannon, Lynn Jordan, and Jarrell for coming on the program tonight. We come on every night, Monday through Sunday. I'd like to thank everybody for calling in and participating in the program. If you like the show, you can go to michaeljstiffersenate.com and you can donate there, or go to Act Blue. And I'm the guy from North Dakota running for Senate. Shannon, I was wondering if you could send me a copy of that interview I did with Joel Heitkamp, if you'd have that, because the prick didn't post it on his archive, but he posted that Shannon,
Sure.
or not Shannon, that Katrina on there. So, yeah, if you could send me, yeah.
Really? That's just
Yeah,
so
right. I
not
wrote
right.
him about it, too, and told
You
him
know,
what a
that's,
punk he is.
it seems like there's some kind of, like you could have
Oh,
some kind
yeah.
of lawsuit there to me. Oh, and by the way, that Rob, what's his name?
Port.
Rob, Port, he never emailed me back.
Wow.
So I did. I gave you a screenshot of the email, so
Who
I did
knows?
email him. So anyway, yeah, I'll give you that that episode recording
yeah.
as soon as
Do
we
you
leave
have
here
it on like
on
an
Discord.
MP3 or something? I want to be able to upload it to my Facebook so people can hear it there. At least they'll know, Oh, great.
It is an
Oh,
MP3.
wonderful.
It wouldn't play
Okay.
without
Super.
it being an
That's
MP3.
good. Thank
So
you. I appreciate it. Thank you very
yeah,
much. Yeah.
you're welcome.
Well, we'll see everybody tomorrow night.
Okay.
I'm going to go eat. I haven't ate all day, Shannon. I've been running and working and doing things, and I'm getting hungry. I think I'm going to go get me a midnight breakfast somewhere. Go get some breakfast and some pancakes or some eggs.
Oh, that
You got
sounds
Denny's where you're
excellent.
at? Maybe I'll go to Denny's. I'm not a big Denny's fan, but they're the only thing open this late in Fargo. Denny's. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do it $48 for a 2/4 pounder Big Mac and
Oh, you're
2
cutting
baked
out. I
nuggets.
can't hear you. I'm sorry. We missed everything, but
$48 to $50 for one Big Mac, 1/4 pounder of cheese, and